Welcome to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White, the real dragon slayer, author and entrepreneur sales coach. Tune in weekly for human conversation about business and sales. Enjoy business expert interviews, educational episodes, and virtual cuppas with entrepreneur business owners. So grab yourself a cuppa and enjoy. Here is your host, Jules White.
So welcome everybody to the Human Conversation. Oh, I have been dying to meet this woman. She has just been such an amazing woman to follow. I've met her online. We still haven't met face to face in real life, but obviously at the moment we're in the middle of the pandemic if you're listening to this in a few years' time. And so we can't meet up properly at the moment. So she is my guest today on my podcast, and she's called Shelley Wilson. She is a freelance writer, a blogger, and an author. How amazing is that? So, Shelley, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Jules. Thank you. Far too many hats, I think that's what it is.
Well, you know, the thing is, it's easy to do that, quite honestly, isn't it? And I guess in this conversation that we're going to have, we're going to dissect a little bit more about what Shelley really does and who she is, because that's what this podcast is all about. But I've followed you for quite some time now on social media, and I guess you've followed me too. We've sort of been a bit fans, haven't we?
Yeah.
But
stalkerish.
well, yeah. Okay then. But I think one of the things for me is I just get so much joy from your posts and your humour. And I've read one of your books, and I want to read more because we're going to talk about that as well. But it's the way you write is so lovely. It's so real, and it's you. You've got this beautiful personal brand which comes through everything. So I want to talk about where that comes from and how that's evolved. So let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, of course.
Let's start. Shelley is leaving school. What is her first job?
Blimey. Right, I've just got to rewind an awful long way.
Not as far as me, though.
Oh, my goodness. Do you know, the first thing I went into was catering. Bearing in mind, I can't stand cooking, hate it with a passion, and yet I am a qualified caterer and chef or whatever. I went from school straight into catering, and I was in hospitality 21 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
Just bouncing around. So I was waitress up to restaurant manageress, and then bars, and then contract catering, and then I worked within an audio-visual company, but we did a lot of work with hotels. And then I went back to a hotel and was conference and event coordinator and sales manager for them as well then.
Wow. We have a common thread straight away, because I was a head of sales at a venue for 5 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, there you go. Then you see this bonded straight away.
We are bonded. I knew there was a reason. Well, I had 3 conference centres. I had 400 bedrooms, a restaurant and a golf course and a spa.
Oh, wow, yeah. Mine was nothing like that. It was much smaller scale. Thank you very much. I'll stick with the little country cottage hotels.
Well, I don't blame you, to be honest. But it was a wonderful experience working in hospitality.
It is. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I loved working with the team as well that were with me, and with their family. They do become family in that, because you work all hours, don't you?
Yeah.
And they come, yes. So I'm still in touch with a lot of the girls that I worked with back then.
No, that's lovely. That's
lots
lovely.
of happy memories.
So obviously at some point you left that 20 odd years worth of career. What happened? I
had a great idea one day. As you know, I am a single mum, so I've got 3 kids, and 16 years I'll have been divorced now, which is quite scary to think. And so I'd not long been separated from my husband then, and I started working with the last hotel that I was working with. Loved it, did 4 years with them. And then I thought, I'm going to go to night school. I'm going to learn something. And I didn't care what it was. It could have been flower arranging. It could have been anything. I didn't care. I went to the open day and I saw Indian head massage. And I thought, that sounds nice. I fancy a bit of that. So I enrolled and I did night school, came out with a qualification, and it totally changed my world. And I think because with holistics, you do a lot of self-work, and because I'd just come out of a marriage, it was also a violent marriage, so I had a lot of stuff that I needed to fix for myself. It was like I'd been guided down that path because it was meant to be. So I did so much training. I'm a Reiki master teacher, I'm a reflexologist, massage therapist, I did beauty as well, and then in 2008, just as everything fell apart in the world, I started my own business.
Yeah.
As you do.
Well, I was a bit before you. I was 2005 when I started Truly Madly Baby, which was my Dragon's Den business.
Yep.
And that was because my son was born. So the madness there was 3-month-old baby. I'll start a business.
Yeah.
Why not? You know?
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
We're clearly as mad as each other, which
Absolutely.
is why we get on.
Yeah.
So, so in 2008, I actually lost my business.
Oh, wow.
And so, and then I got a job in 2009, right at the venue, right at the beginning of that recession.
Yeah.
So, so it's really interesting. Our paths have kind of run a little bit parallel in some of those experiences.
Yeah.
So what was the business so you started the Reiki?
I started, holistic business. And because I was on my own with my kids, it was, I'd put them to bed. So I was kind of working the day while they were at school or nursery, and then put them to bed at night and work on the night as well, because it was just me. And you know, when you're on your own, you do, as you know, you work all hours, God sends. You just rather that than sitting twiddling your thumbs, really. And I loved it. So it was Body and Soul Holistics is what it was called, and I've got a converted garage, and it was from there. I ran it from home, put the kids to bed, and did therapies and all sorts, and I absolutely loved it. I really did. Found my my home, as it were. Really good.
Okay, so I'm hearing how much love you have for this, and yet I know that today that's not what you do. So you need to now tell us, carry on this story.
Oh, blimey! You see, I've actually reinvented myself more times than Madonna, but I just haven't got the cone bra. Maybe that's what I need to get next.
Yeah, you need to get the cone bra, definitely.
I actually, I think it was 2014 or 2015, I took my kids to Conkers, and we had a brilliant day, but I was bitten by something. And I don't know whether it was a spider or a bug or whatever, but it messed me, my immunity, and my body started to shut down. It was the doctor had to Google my rash because they didn't know what it was. I'd wake up in the morning and my left side wouldn't work, so I couldn't massage. I hate letting people down. So having to ring my clients to say, I'm sorry, I can't do your treatments today. I hated every second of it. But I got gradually worse as the months went on. And I think the only saving grace was that my clients saw me deteriorate in front of them. Yeah. And so when it was actually the Easter holidays of 2016, I think it was, and I sat my kids down and I just said, look, I can't keep doing this. It's going to be tight. We're going to have to find another way for mum to bring in some money and that. But will you support me? And that, as they have done their whole lives, bless them. And I closed the business and I cried for a week. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But I'm still in touch with a lot of my clients. We go out for lunch, we go out for walks, we go out for coffee, and they all said, when I told them that I was closing and how upset I was, they all said, universe is telling you should be writing.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So you must have been writing then during that time, were you? If they knew you wrote, what? Tell us a little bit more about the writing.
The writing I've been doing since I was 8. Since I could hold a pencil, I have filled gazillion notebooks, and it's just the one passion I've always had. I even remember, this will date me now, won't it? One of the things my mum bought me was a cassette, and it was How to Write Mills and Boon. And I was 13. I was 13. Can you imagine?
I love that, Mills and Boon. There's probably people listening to us thinking, what the hell are those two women on about? But I tell you what, I'm sure you're younger than me, but I reckon that we're probably from a similar type of era, because I totally get the cassette. So cassette for me was Sunday, taping the charts.
Yes.
Please don't sue me, anybody, because it was probably illegal. And with my little pause button in between the songs that I loved, you know. So
Absolutely.
So Mills and Boone.
I
Oh
know.
my goodness, how romantic,
I
Shelley.
know. Although at 13 I didn't have any experience whatsoever.
Nor did I. No.
I don't think I've still got that experience now, and I'm nearly 48, so I'm just winging it.
We've got time to make that happen, you know, and change that. We have.
Absolutely.
So you've been writing from such an early age. Okay, and this is interesting because this is quite an important part of the story, really. I think the whole writing piece.
Yeah.
But I want to kind of just touch on the illness because obviously I know somebody else who had a bite. I'm not quite sure what that was from, but she had exactly the same, and I think it was something like lupus. She developed lupus.
Okay. Yeah. They sent my bloods off for Lyme disease because I had all the symptoms of that.
Right.
But it came back negative both times. So,
oh, wow.
But I do know it. Well, whether I've had it or not, I don't know. You just go with what it is. But in the end, the doctor, I saw a neurologist. I had a lumbar puncture, which was the worst experience of my life. So much blood, honestly, it was just incredible. And they couldn't find anything. So in the end, they just went, get on with it.
Really?
And that's what I had to do. So yeah, it was the hardest time. I think I've always struggled a little bit with depression, probably going back to when I was married, but this particular illness it was like Mount Vesuvius. So that kind of really, it blew out of the water then, and I struggled, and I have struggled since the illness. I've noticed it's been, I can trace it back to that particular moment in my life. And I have to watch out for triggers. But I write about it. That's how I help myself. I always bring it back around to the written word and journal or blog about it, or write it in my books and just say, look, this is happening to me. And the amount of people that then say, and me, oh my God, I'm so glad you're talking about it or writing about it. So
it's interesting because there's kind of this thing about not knowing what's wrong with you. That's really scary, I think, isn't it? Not that I've experienced that, but I can imagine that bit must be so difficult, because then how do you treat it? How do you get yourself better if you're not really sure actually what the problem is?
Exactly.
But then what's so lovely about what you said there is that you just kind of found this therapy in writing, and that's really special, isn't it? I think as well, I've often heard people say when they're poorly, there's a lot of stuff around mindset.
Yes.
So actually, you know, what you really do with your mindset when you're ill can have a huge impact on how you physically feel. And so tell us about, did you get better? You know, talk about what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm massively different from what I was a couple of years ago, but I do know that I'll spiral occasionally, but I can gauge. So I've always been an extrovert, massive extrovert. You would never believe it.
Yes, you would.
That was me. I was always that kind of person, but now I have to manage that. So I actually did I can't remember what the website is, 16 personalities or something like that. I can't remember. And I came out as highly introvert.
Really?
Yeah. And I know that it comes from the depression. Because my answers, obviously, when you answer things like that, they come straight from your subconscious, don't they? So when I I love networking, I love meeting new people, but it exhausts me now. Never used to. I'll go home. It might take me 2 days to recover. So that's a massive change that I've noticed. If I have to be out and about, I turn down a lot of events because I know that how it will affect me.
The impact it will have.
Yeah. So I've learned to go with the flow and to listen to myself. Positivity is always a big thing for me anyway, because I think when you've survived such a horrible sort of marriage time, that was all that I had. It was just me and my kids. They were 2, 3 and 5 when I walked out. So it was just us. We were like the A-team, you know, just the 4 of us. And I had to stay positive. I had to stay upbeat. I had to motivate myself, which I still do. And yeah, mindset is a massive factor in anything. And as much as we don't want to be labelled, having a diagnosis, even though you would call it a label, does help, because you can plan. You can, right, okay, this is what I need to do. And I mean, I'm a holistic person anyway, so I wouldn't have taken a bunch of tablets that they'd given me. I'd have said, right, how do I sort this with my diet? How do I sort this with... I'd have gone a different route anyway, but it would have been nice to know what I was dealing with.
Yeah, totally. It's kind of like your roadmap, isn't it? To recovery. I just created that. Did you hear your roadmap to recovery? But honestly, it's so true what you're saying. So, you know, I'm not going to dig into the whole marriage piece, because clearly, you know, it's a bad place. You managed to get out of it, which is
I'm a survivor.
Courageous. I just need to say that, because it really is, especially when you've got children involved. That makes it even deeper coming out of something like that. So there's a lot of inspiration around you, lady. I think certainly for the listener. So you know, my human conversations are always go wherever we take them as two people chatting. That's the beauty of my podcast. So I love so far how I found out how long you were in hospitality, which is really quite incredible, isn't it? And then going into doing the whole holistic stuff, which actually has served you then, having had your illness, which is, you know, you talk about universe stuff. And you listen to all of this. It's interesting, isn't it? And then you've been writing since you were a small girl, and also how therapeutic that is. This story is coming together very nicely, isn't it, really, when you think? So when did you first write your first book?
Wow, okay. I've written half of about 1 million books.
I love that.
They're all stashed away somewhere. The book that you've read, the How I Changed My Life in a Year, I published that in 2014, and then I wrote it in 2013. And I mean, you'll know this, but it was based on a blog challenge that I did for myself, and this was a bum kick for myself. This was I'm running a holistic business. I'm telling my clients they should be doing this, this, and this, and I'm not doing it for myself. So I smack on the wrist and sort it out. So I thought, right, okay, what's the one goal? The one goal is to write a book. That's always been my goal. How am I going to do that, but also fit all these other things that I want to do? So I decided to set myself these challenges, and there were 52 of them, so one for every week of the year. And I thought I need to stay accountable, and I want to factor in the writing. So I thought I'll blog. Oh, how hard can it be? So yeah, the 1st of January 2013, I logged onto the first blogging platform I found, and I started blogging. And it was literally, this is my challenge, this is what I'm going to be doing. So the accountability factor. I was writing it for my clients, nobody else. That it was just for the ladies that came to my holistic business, just to say, right, okay, I've told you you need to do that. I'm doing it. I'm doing it too. And oh my goodness, I started to get messages from people all over the world, from ladies going, oh, this is hilarious. I'm going to have a go, and I'm setting and it just grew from there. It was just incredible. And I loved it. It was the busiest year of my life. It was hilarious. I mean, we did some crazy things. But when I got to December, it was a journalist friend he'd been watching me from, he is one of the content writers for Writers Forum magazine, Douglas, and he'd been kind of watching from the wings, and he said, Shelley, you know you've written a book, don't you? And I was like, no, that's the goal. I want to write it. But no, he said, you have. He says, you work in mind, body, spirit. You've got an audience. You've written 12 chapters, January to December. All it needs is a tweak. And I was like, oh my God, I've written a book.
Love it. It
was just incredible. And it took a little bit of tweak. I found my editor. We worked it around, and it published it in the May. And it was the best thing I've ever done.
Such a great read, it really is.
Thank you.
There's so much personality in it, there's so much humour in it, you know, and it's inspiring as well. It makes you feel like actually you want to go ahead and do this 12-month challenge yourself kind of thing, you know.
No, I had a lovely message yesterday from a lady who private messaged me and said, I just wanted to thank you for your book, How I Changed My Life in a Year. I read it when it first came out, but I'm rereading it now in lockdown to try and fit, because I'm like at a bit of a loose end and I need inspiring. And it made my day. It was wonderful. Wonderful.
It is wonderful, and I think there's lots of people now can write books because they can. It's much easier to write a book now. But when you've done that, and obviously I've only written one book, and I do want to write another book. I will write another book, but I'm very much trusting the right time to write that book, But it's really rewarding when you get a message from somebody you don't even know who says how much it's affected them or changed them by reading your words. Well, that's really something, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think the best one that I received was a lady, and this is probably not long after it had been published, actually, and she messaged me again. I think it was through my Facebook page, and she said that she was thanking me. She'd read the book. She just had an accident, and it meant that she was wheelchair bound. And after finishing the book, she was so motivated. She signed up to Open University to do a degree. And I cried. I sobbed reading that, because I was like, how have I motivated or inspired somebody across England who's just been through the most horrific experience? And amazing, absolutely amazing. I pinch myself every day.
And I think the big thing to take from it is that you did inspire that lady, and that's the bit, isn't it? That's the bit I think we sort of go, oh yeah, but and we really don't want to take that credit. But we have to accept that credit.
I brush that off all the time when people, and you see it on social media, you go, oh, you're so inspiring, and I'm like, no, I'm not, I'm just me. It's just me being me. But you do, and that's the only word that fits, really, isn't it? But I get what you mean.
It is, and you should do it all the time when you get feedback. Just give yourself a really gentle pat on the back, because it has changed somebody's life, your words, which is just wonderful to be able to do that. So look, we've got a situation then where you've jacked your business in, but because you really had to, because of the illness. So what happened next then after that?
You'll know yourself, but writing books, as wonderful as it is, unless you're J.K. Rowling or Stephen King, you're not going to pay the bills with it, are you? I'm never going to stop writing. My 13th book's coming out in 3 weeks.
I love that you said that before I asked you. That's fantastic. And we will put links in, by the way, so the listeners will be able to click on anything they want to find you and follow you and buy your books. So I
think it's that. I just love it. I've probably got too much to say, to be fair. So that might have something to do with it. But I also write 2 genres. So I'm writing non-fiction, self-help, but I'm also writing teenage fantasy, paranormal fiction. So
interesting.
It helps my Gemini brain, you see, to switch between the two.
I love that. That's so different. That's really diverse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
But as much as I love writing, I know it's not gonna feed the kids. So that was when I started running workshops on how to start writing. And isn't it funny how businesses suddenly evolve? So I'd started to go to networking events, and I'd take my books along and I'd hold them up and say, this is me, I'm an author. And nobody would, yes, I did sell books, but most people were like, I've always wanted to write a book, but I don't know where to start. Can I pick your brains? And I'm like, yeah, of course you can. Buy me a coffee and I'm anybody's. And it was very much like that. And then it was one of my friends, she said, you could charge for this. You do know that, don't you? And I'm like, really? She's like, yes. So I was like, oh yeah. And that was how I suddenly started then to kind of piece these programs together, and they've evolved so much, because I should get a t-shirt that says winging it, because that is my motto. Totally. But it is that I've just, so if you want to learn how to write a book, I can guide you through it, and this is how much it's going to cost. So that's where my business has just suddenly evolved from from nowhere, really, I guess.
It's lovely. I love this. And, the winging it thing, don't ever say it's winging it. Because, I used to use that a lot. I still do sometimes, because I think I probably wing my way through most of my life. But I think winging it is interesting because you can't really wing it unless you've got experience. And so really it is what you know and what you've learned, and you've walked the walk. Yeah. And I think that's really special when you've actually walked the walk. It stands for far more. So that's awesome. So you do these workshops. So do you kind of then, have you evolved it into sort of like coaching? So you're doing it one-to-one kind of scenario?
Yeah, I do a book coaching program. So most of the clients that I work with are ladies, they're women in business. They're either writing a memoir or something to do with their business. And a lot of it is they just don't know where to start. So it's very, very basic. It's the mind mapping, it's the outlining, it's the plot, it's content, it's all of those kind of things, and guiding them through how to put all that together. And more recently, I've kind of been connecting with a lot of proofreaders and editors and formatting people, so that I know that at the end of my bit, I know where I can send them, because I'm not a publisher. I have self-published, but I would rather, I wouldn't let myself loose on anybody else's project. I'd rather somebody professional did it.
No, but this is the other thing about publishing a book, and some people don't realise this. Some people think, I want to write a book and then it gets published. But there's actually a whole process to writing a book, including editing, setup of your actual pages. And our lovely friend Catherine, I think you know Catherine.
Yes.
She's been on my podcast. So I'll refer back to the series she was in my notes to any of the listeners. But she makes books beautiful.
She does,
That's her kind of strapline. So she's really clever in how it's all laid out and set out. And then the whole editing thing is another thing, isn't it? That's another skill in itself. So
absolutely,
lots of people involved in publishing a book if you want to do it properly. And you should do it properly, I believe, because it's very precious. And if you're going to do it, put it out into the world in a really good way, quality wise. So.
Yeah. Totally.
So you're coaching one-to-one, you're doing workshops, obviously with the pandemic that we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
Has that gone online for you, or have you just waited? And
I haven't done the workshops online, actually. Whether that changes in the future, I don't know, because obviously there's so many people that are going online and it's working for them, isn't it? So it might be that in the future I do. I don't want to rush into something just because of the situation, really. But the one thing I do is I turn a lot of my content into either e-courses or e-books, so that they can help. So I've got a couple of e-courses. The marketing side, I can sell everybody else's books and courses and share everybody else's stuff, and then I forget to do my own. So I've had a bum kick this morning on a networking event, so I'm like, yes, I must tell people I do that.
Just tell them. Remember. Just tell them you do it. That's usually all it needs to be.
I am a nightmare. I need a sticky note on my head to remind myself of something.
But it's nice that you're not pushy tactics with selling, because that's never nice anyway. But there's kind of a fine line really between making sure people actually know what you do and what you do and what you give and how you help. So yes, you can practice that.
I will. My homework for today.
So what's kind of the one thing, if I'm listening to this podcast, what's the one thing that I may want to get in touch with you for?
I think at the moment, now this is something that I've been doing, and I'm still doing it a lot in lockdown, and that is helping people just to update what they've got going on already. So it might be your LinkedIn profile, for example, or if you've got a business page on Facebook, it might be the About section. So you can add quite a decent chunk of content there, updating your homepage or your About page on your website, newsletter campaigns as well. So because we're trying to stay visible, however that may be, some of our clients might not be on Facebook or LinkedIn, but they might have emails. So obviously having a regular campaign helps. And I love your emails, by the way, Jules. I must just say that I love them.
Thank you, because I've only just switched to doing like this weekly regular thing, because I used to just do them when I found time to do them, and I was rubbish with my email, and I really thought it was an opportunity to try and make it a regular thing. So I'm enjoying it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Make myself a cuppa. That's right. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn.
And it's just light. It's not heavy. And there's a bit of fun in it, and a podcast episode or a blog. So I'm enjoying it, and I'm so happy that people have received it well. So,
but it's interesting you say that about it being upbeat, because I think that's a lot of the clients I'm working with. They talk how they think they should rather than how they actually are. So you'll know from reading my book, everything I write is as if you're chatting to me over a cup of coffee. I write how I speak. My little slangy bits and those kind of tweaks and whatever are in my writing. They're in my content online. So if you've read something I've written and then meet me, it's that's Shelley, totally. And obviously the other way around, I can hear you in my head. So it works either way. But there's a lot of the ladies that I work with who take their voice out. And they put this, I've got to be this, and this. And I'm like, no, right, we've got to get your voice back in. We've got to get your personality through. And that, I love doing that.
And we did talk about this just before we started to record, and I think that is a really special skill to be able to actually articulate that. Because, we are all different. One of my big things, as you know, is this UHP, so your unique human proposition, because we are so beautifully unique as individuals. And if you can then squeeze that out and be able to put that then into content and writing, that's really magic, isn't it?
Absolutely. And some people are scared of doing that. I don't know why. I think I've always been me. I'm not going to be anybody else. So what you get is, this is it. So maybe I'm comfortable that, and some people, I don't know why.
I also think people are comfortable with that. Actually, generally, they like that because it just feels more natural and it's real, and that's how we know, like, and trust, isn't it? By just, of course it is, really feeling like that's genuine and it feels safe. And one of the reasons why some of my clients are just as you described when I first sort of come to work with them, it's about, are people going to like what I've said? Did I say it the right way? If I want to sell to corporate, should I be saying it in this certain way? And of course, I'm a bit like you. I'm like, nope. You show up as real you. As long as you understand what the value is they want to see, then you can then do it in your own unique way. I call it isms. So Shelleyisms. And I think that's really special when you can start filtering that through. So you sure are a talented lady. Aren't you? So, but you're funny, you're really talented the way you write, and you're real, and there's really 3 fabulous qualities right there, isn't there?
Thank you.
Yeah, you can take that one. Don't ever brush that off. Yes, that's me. That's me. So, what's the future for Shelley then? What's going on in your world? What are you excited about?
I am working on my 16th novel at the moment. That's a young adult series that I'm working on. So I'm liking dipping into that. It's mindset thing again. With the lockdown, it's really messed with my head sometimes. So I've not worked on it as much as I hoped. But when I get into the zone, I'm really enjoying that. But I've got a few ebook series that I'm putting together at the moment, and I'm enjoying that. So that's stuff that will help my my business clients with what they want to say. Itching to get out travelling again. My massive big passion is to travel, and that literally can be to the other side of the world or in a camper van chugging up to the Yorkshire moors. I don't mind. As long as I've got my laptop, I'm all right.
Well, we said something, I think, across social media only the other day about this whole camper van thing, because that's just my dream. Because I can work from anywhere, a bit like you. I mean, as long as hopefully there's a bit of a Wi-Fi signal. That'd be a bit of a bummer. Although I could just have a day on my own if there was no Wi-Fi. But I can pretty much work from wherever. And I love the idea of just sort of packing up a little camper van of some sort, maybe a little bit of luxury if possible. But honestly, what a wonderful way to just explore,
nomadic existence. It'd be wonderful. Absolutely. I mean, my 3 kids, obviously, they're a lot older now. They're like 22, 19 and going on 18. So I can say, you look after the cat, you look after the fish, I'm off, and I'll chug off somewhere. So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Are they all at home still then? Obviously they are at the moment, but are they technically
my eldest my eldest is on furlough at the moment. Middle one has just got one uni exam to sit next week, and then he's done. And then my little one, who not so little, she's just finished her final year of college. So so they're all here. I've got various brands of music coming out of various rooms at the moment, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I've only got one, as you know. So Sam, he's 15, so he's just been good as gold. He's cooked for me, he's been doing his work, you know. He's kind of owned that. I've just let him own his work, which has been actually a really smart move for any parents listening. If that's the case, where you've got to homeschool at any point, let them own it themselves. Honestly, if they're a bit bigger, like Sam is.
Oh yeah.
He's been making music. Oh my goodness!
Oh, I know. I saw. It's absolutely incredible,
isn't it? It's such a joy to watch them be creative. So, have you any writers in your midst with your kids?
Absolutely not. No, it ended with me. No, I've got their media creative. So my eldest is a graphic designer. My middle one, Jamie, he's sporty, so he's the one that loves his sport. But Ella is creative media as well. She does my videos for me, my book trailers. I don't know if you saw it, I created a daft little video where I made a coaster in my shed.
Yes, that
because
was amazing.
I was missing. Well, Ella made that for me.
I loved that so much. Didn't you also make a bar at the bottom of the garden?
Yeah, they were missing the pub so much that we made the Wilson Arms.
I love it. It's just wonderful. And actually, even if they're not writers specifically, they are clearly creative, which is so nice to see, isn't it?
Yeah, they make me laugh with my books, because obviously I'll dedicate, or they have, some of them have been dedicated to the kids, and I'll be like, are you ever going to read them? And my daughter says, I'll wait till it comes out on Netflix, Mum.
I've asked my son about 4 times, have you read my book yet? Have you read my book yet? Because now he's producing music. I'm like, you need to promote yourself, you need to sell yourself, so read the book and then that will help, you know. It's got this sales guru of a mother. No, I'm not really, I'm just kind of joking really, but you know, he's smart, and he's just picking up things now, so that's very cool. So, and it's a real pleasure to be a mum, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. My 3 are just they're just wonderful. They are just the most amazing kids with what they've been through, and we're still as tight now as we were way back when. And I'm so proud of them. I really am.
Yeah, that's amazing that you've got them as well as much as they've got you. So can we just finish and talk a little bit about men?
No. No, I'll say that I've got my Mrs. Johnny Depp mug. This is
yeah, so I don't know, I'm assuming, and I should never assume. I teach everyone, do not ever assume, but I'm guessing you're single. Have you been single for some time like me?
16 years,
So you always make me feel so much better, because I'm like 11, I'm coming into my 11th year now of being single. What is it about us, Shelley, that means that we can just be single, you know?
Do you know, I think it's just being happy. I don't know about you. I love my own company. Perfectly happy in my own company. My kids have laughed at me through lockdown, because they're like, you're enjoying this, aren't you? And I'm like, actually, do you know, loving it. Absolutely. I can write, I can read, I can do whatever, sit in the garden. It's just, and I think that is a big difference, because I hear people, I can't be on my own. I'm like, you can. You just haven't learned to be. I don't see it ever happening for me. I honestly don't think so. I think I've got a bit too selfish now. That's probably my issue.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I wish it will happen, in the sense of I'd like a companion, I think. But I certainly don't feel like I need to meet someone and get married, and I'm definitely not having any more children, because I'm way past that. You know, But I feel if I've got this lovely house next door, which is kind of the mirror of my house, because I live in Milton Keynes, so our houses are quite new. So it's the identical house to me next door. So my dream is that they're selling it at the moment. My dream is that this lovely man moves in, who's on his own, but who wants to stay in his house.
Yeah.
And then we make a gate in between the two houses. And then when we want, we can meet and we can stay over and have sleepovers, or we can go on adventures together. And you know, that's my dream. And it sounds so romantic, but that is perfect for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's where I'm at. And it is lovely to be sat with another lady like me, who just feels actually really comfortable with being on our own, because it is a good thing to be.
Oh, yeah.
But I do kind of hope that Mr. Next Door moves in, and maybe we get a gate put in even.
Yeah, it would be nice. I'll opt for a cowboy over in America, and then I can get my travel done as well.
I love it. Shelley, it's been so lovely talking to you.
And to you, thank you.
Got quite a fascinating story. You've been through a huge amount, and I think our listeners will most definitely feel inspired by what you've done and what you've achieved.
Still smiling.
Yeah, what you've achieved is amazing. So all the links for your books and connecting with you, where's the best place to connect with you? Where do you hang out the most?
Right, I am totally obsessed with social media. So, you know, where you say, oh, you should really just do one platform really well. Oh, no, I don't. I'm everywhere. I'm absolutely everywhere. I love Facebook. So I've got my personal page, I've got my author page, I've got a Motivate Me page, I've got my Writing Mentor page.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that, yeah.
All over Twitter, love Twitter. So yeah, I think probably Facebook and Twitter are my two favourite platforms. So and I'm getting there with LinkedIn, you'll be pleased to know. I'm starting to engage a bit more on that platform as well. But yeah.
That's really good. So actually, you can connect with Shelley wherever you want to connect with her, and we'll put her links in the post. Any parting advice or thoughts for our listeners, Shelley?
Oh my goodness! I think at the moment, I would just say, take it one day at a time, because even though we know there will be an end to all of what's going on at the moment, I think we still need to be kind with ourselves, and just be authentic, be yourself, be who you want to be. And if you need help with your writing, then I'm your gal.
You sure are there, gal. Thanks, Shelley. It's been so lovely to finally chat to you on the podcast. Listeners, I hope you've really enjoyed. What a fabulous natural conversation that really was. I totally loved it. I hope you did too. But look, if you like this podcast, like it on the platform you listen to it, subscribe, tell everybody you meet about our podcast, and also join me again for the next episode. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher and SoundCloud. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Shelley, again.
Thanks, Jules.
Have a great weekend.
And you.
And we will see you again soon on The Human Conversation. Ta-ta for now.
You've just been listening to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White. To find out more about the other work that Jules does, please visit her website, www.liveitloveitsellit.co.uk. And if you enjoyed the podcast, then please do leave a rating and review on the platform you use to enjoy her show. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.